And what a lovely morning. Good morning.
Good morning. We've talked the whole night through.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. Good morning.
You're listening to Power Talk with Melody and Beth Ann in the morning, where talk is real, truth is in the talk. There is power in truth, and my goodness, I am surprised Melody switched. She switched the morning song. We talked about it a few weeks ago because I was singing it to her.
We both were singing it. Good morning.
We said we should use that. Where was our head? Why didn't we think of that in the first place? We'll miss Quigley Down Under, but we can use him for bumper music. I loved it. Thank you so much. That was
well. I'll tell you what. It was hard to find a good recording. So I mean, this is the original recording.
I can tell from the movie.
And it was very difficult. And I don't think there is another recording of it that I could find.
Maybe we should make a recording.
Perhaps we should. That will really drive the listeners away.
Oh, my goodness. Wait a minute now.
Or they'll just tune in late.
Well, let's wait till that music's over.
But it was funny because the producer, Todd, after I sent it to him and so forth, I said, it's a catchy little tune. He says, yeah. He says, I'm not going to be able to get that out of my head all day. And it is. It's a very catchy little tune.
Oh, that was a great day. Great way to start the day. I'm really tuckered out. I had a baby yesterday.
Congratulations.
So we had a baby girl. We didn't know what it was going to be. They chose not to know. Little baby, 7 pounds, 5 ounces, named her Imogene Hope. And they're going to call her Emmy. And she's beautiful. She slept the whole time I was there. My husband and I kept passing her back and forth, and she just slept. She did fill her diaper while I had her, but she slept through that too. And I just handed her over to someone else. That's what you do when you're a grandmother. You just hand them over to someone else.
Well, I was pleased and happy enough to see a picture of her already. Yes. And I'll tell you what, when I saw her eyes were open wide, and I'll tell you, I did think she was like ready to say something. It was just like she had a thought on her mind that she wanted.
She looked like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the picture my son sent me right after birth. I mean, she had just been cleaned up, and they put the little drops in their eyes that they do, and yeah, she looked like she was ready to conquer the world. But she looked, when I got there, she'd already conquered it, and she was sleeping.
Conquering is quick when you're that age.
and big sister was there. She's 3. She'll be 4 in January, and her little world is about to get rocked. Because little sister is here, and she's going to take some of that attention. So anyway, it's so much fun.
Yes. And thank you for making me a part of it. I really enjoyed receiving the pictures.
You're part of the family now, whether you like it or not. There'll be more pictures. There's another baby due this month, and then a great-grandbaby due in February. So,
well, this time of the year, there's good things, there's happy things, there's things to be blessed, knowing our blessings. And then in California, once again, we have another small brush fire that exploded totally out of control in Ventura County, California. It's threatening hundreds, if not thousands, of homes, forcing evacuation. So far, there hasn't been any, as far as I know, death tallies. It's moving on average 40 acres a minute. The winds were gusting 44 to 60 mile an hour winds. And, this was actually early a.m. this morning. There were over 10,000 acres that were burning. There's been power loss to many cities out there. And, with that dry brush and the embers from the fire and high winds, it doesn't take much to, they said in a second, I heard it reported this morning, in a second, that fire consumed a football field. In a second.
Wow.
And that's fast.
That is fast.
That is fast.
Oh, my goodness.
They're calling it the Thomas fire, I believe. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. But a terrible time. People coming from Thanksgiving, putting up their, getting ready for the holidays, and
do they know what caused it? You said brush fire, but
it was just a brush fire. But I think it was just a small brush fire. And
you got dry and you've got wind. You don't.
I don't know. When I lived in Missouri, we were told that flatlanders, people who moved in, are called flatlanders. I think that was the term. And they said lots of times what they do is the people that were born and raised from, grandparents or great-grandparents, because you're allowed to burn your trash, you're allowed to burn your leaves and things like that, they intentionally do it sometimes on a little windier day just to scare the heck out of you so you move. And our neighbor
I didn't know that, and I live in Missouri.
That actually happened. I don't know if he did it I'm not going to say he did it intentionally, but he burned, and it was windy, and it came within feet of our house. We were out there with rakes and rakes and boots trying to stomp it out, and because there was no fire company, they were busy, and it burned about 2,000 acres. And
if you've got the flat land, the prairie land, and if I don't know where you were in Missouri, there is a couple of places here in Missouri that have flat land. Most of it.
We were up in the Ozarks.
Oh, okay. Well, you're in the rolling hills then.
Yeah, but it was dry.
Well, through Prairie Home and Pilot Grove and some of those places, they're pretty flat. Prairie Home is flat.
Flat.
That's one of them.
But it happens very quickly. Very quickly.
Yeah, it does. I have something. I think I want the listeners to know about this and to be praying for this family as it's not good any time of the year, but here we are going into Christmas, and it's going to affect every December for the rest of their lives. But a Texas police officer was shot and killed in the line of duty on Monday. He was on his day off. He was serving a warrant, he and other officers, and it was an ambush type of attack, and he was shot and killed. His name is, let me find it here, Ken Copeland. He was Officer Ken Copeland, a veteran of the San Marcos Police Department. He's been there since March of 1998. Was serving a warrant in El Camino Real subdivision of the city when he was fatally shot. The police chief, Chase Stepp, confirmed during the press conference what happened. And it was an ambush-style situation. They do have the one who shot him, but he has family. He was working overtime, off-duty, to make extra money for his kids, raising his kids, and he's gone.
Well, you know what, Beth? This isn't the first. I've heard of several.
Yes.
In the past month or so. It's not getting any media reporting. No attention. We're too busy reporting about
Congress
Trump.
dropping their drawers or something.
Yes.
You know?
And and again, this is just being overlooked. But I think there was one last week. And I think there was another one.
You know where I saw this? Because, see, a lot of these fall, and I'm sure they do you too, they fall in your email box. But I actually saw this one when I was traveling yesterday on Twitter. I was checking my phone for tweets and such, and I saw this on Twitter, and it just broke my heart. And James Woods is the one who I saw tweeted out and made a comment about him, and I just think we need to remember that family and all these families that have lost loved ones, and, they're struggling to make it. I mean, cop doesn't make that much money anyway, and they sure get a bad rap, being called racist and everything else if they try to do their job. And I'm not saying all of them are perfect. We know that's not the case in any situation, but he was working overtime, working on a day off to make a little extra money for his family, and now he's gone.
There is someone else we should keep in our prayers today, Jack Phillips.
Yes.
He's the owner of Masterpiece Cake Shop, and he's the Christian who had refused to sell a customized cake for a gay couple's marriage, claiming a religious exemption to the state's anti-discrimination law. yesterday, I believe, or this might have been last Thursday. He's going to court this week in front of the Supreme Court, but I believe it was last week that the Justice Department, Jeff Sessions, wrote the Justice Department. Where did I have that?
I don't have that one in front of me.
I don't know what.
And he'll be before the Supreme Court, and this will be. This is going to be very interesting.
Well, I don't have what Jeff Sessions wrote. I thought I did, but I didn't. But it is, and it is one thing that if he refused him a sandwich or something like that, but he didn't. And now he is being accused of
serve an event.
an anti, in a ceremony, and it's like, how free are we really? We talk about our religious freedoms, our freedom of speech, and it's just like, we can't even choose who we care to do business with. Without having to be, and look how much they probably lost trying to defend this.
If they had refused to serve them as they walked in the building, no, I'm not selling you any cupcakes or any cookies.
Yeah, you're too flamboyant for me, and I know who you are, you're gay, and I don't want to serve you.
I would have a problem with that.
Yes.
But serving the event, a wedding event, I think he had every right to refuse to serve the event.
Yes.
You bid for jobs. I'm sure they didn't bid for this, but, in many places you bid for a job. Well, if you choose not to bid for a job because, I'm not going to bid that event because I really don't agree with what they're doing, so I'm not going to bid that. Isn't that your prerogative?
Used to be. Used to be. So he will be going to the Supreme Court. They will be arguing that this week, and so we'll have to find out. They will decide whether applying Colorado's public accommodations law to compel the baker to create expression, a wedding cake, that violates his constitutionally protected Christian beliefs about marriage. The Liberties Union, they're anti-Christian. They accuse the Trump administration of advocating for nothing short of constitutional right to discriminate. It's like, you know what? I'm going to be nice. I'm going to be nice.
No, you don't have to.
Well, here's this. We'll scare away more listeners. No,
they're not scared away. Supreme Court also, I love the way this title is. The Supreme Court lets Trump's latest travel ban go into full effect. Mm-hmm. So how much money and time gets wasted every time one of these circuit judges, these federal, what do they call them, Ninth Circuit judges, go against the president, and it gets thrown into the lap of the Supreme Court, and then they say, no, we're not going to, he had every right to do this. How many times has this happened now? And it says the U.S. Supreme Court yesterday, on Monday, handed a victory to President Donald Trump by allowing his latest travel ban targeting people from 6 Muslim majority, I just love the way they write it, from 6 Muslim majority countries to go into full effect, even as legal challenges continue in the lower courts. The 9-member court, with 2 liberal judges dissenting, granted his administration's request to lift 2 injunctions imposed by lower courts that had partially blocked the ban, which it's not a ban anyway. And we're going to have him back, Mike Cutler. He said, that's not even the title of it. It was not a true ban, but they just keep calling it that. It's all in the language, which is the third version of a contentious policy that Trump first sought to implement a week after taking office in January. Yeah, shame on him. He was trying to do something to secure this nation from terrorists that like to bomb cities and go in and shoot gay people. We're going into a break. I hear music. We're going into a break. I'm going to give the phone number, 717-300-1218, 717-300-1218, and Melody and Beth Ann. We'll be right back.
Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net. Gold and silver is tremendously undervalued. global demand vastly exceeds mine supply by more than 60% annually, there is little in the financial world more certain than a coming explosion in the prices of gold and silver. The U.S. dollar continues to lose value and respect as the world's reserve currency. Our nation faces challenges on many fronts, and a day doesn't pass without another economist bringing forth warnings of impending economic calamity. There has never been a better time than right now to acquire physical gold and silver. Discount Gold and Silver Trading was founded on the principles of truth and honesty. We believe in providing a quality product, quality service, and most importantly, competitive pricing. We provide all forms of precious metals, including American gold, silver, platinum, and rare investment and circulated coins. Silver bars, rounds, and 90% silver bags are on hand for the silver investor. Gold self-directed IRAs are available. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free, that's 1-800-375-4188.
I know you all want answers, and believe me, so do I, and I'll do my best to get them.
Have you seen the Left Behind movies? Have you read the Left Behind fictional book series? Not everyone believes Left Behind is true prophecy. Some may even regard as conspiratorial the mainstream re-release of the Left Behind movie with actor Nicolas Cage portraying the main character as an attempt to further reinforce in the minds of all this perception of false prophecy in order to condition the masses for the play about to begin. Because they see the world stage shaping to fulfill what they have been led to believe is sound biblical interpretation, a left behind rapture scenario, this false view of prophecy is reinforced in the mind, not only of its adherents, but also includes those who have been merely exposed to the specific media. Is it possible that false prophecy can be fulfilled? The rapture theories have always been in dispute. Pre-trib, mid-trib, and post-trib disputes have risen up in exclusively evangelical circles of recent history, so that when true believers don't suddenly disappear, this element will easily go by the wayside when all see a new Jewish temple begin to be built. Will this be part of the great delusion that will come upon the whole earth? It seems that this great prophetic delusion has already overcome practically the entire American evangelical and Christian world. Get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. To learn more, visit crosstheborder.org. That's CROSS, crosstheborder.org.
Years ahead of the dominant media, FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
Hey, for a pocket full of power. We have returned listening to Power Talks with Melody and Beth Ann in the morning, and the number to call to join us in conversation is 717-300-1218. Try to keep it on the topics that we're at. If we could keep it on the topics where we're at, 717-300-1218. What else you got, Melody?
Well, you know what? Going into the break, we were talking about the quote-unquote Muslim ban. And there's something else that, all you hear about is how awful Donald Trump is and all this and all that. Well, if I have to really look to see what he's done, he really has done some good.
He has.
And yes, I don't agree with everything, and
and we won't with anybody. And
I think he's really made a change since Kelly was in there and Bannon's out. You kind of see a little bit of a change of how things are being done, a little more organized to some degree. But the federal government, in the most complete statistical snapshot of immigration enforcement under President Trump, says Border Patrol arrests have plunged to a 45-year low. Now, I know these numbers have been floating around for the past couple of months, but this is a new updated one. The patrol border made 310,000 arrests during the fiscal year that ended September 30th, a decline of 25% from a year earlier, and the lowest level since 1971. That really is amazing. It truly is that when you allow the enforcement, the immigration and customs enforcements to do their job, that this is the type of declines that you can see. The ICE officers pick up people for deportation away from the border made 143,000 arrests. That's an increase of 25% from a year earlier. ICE arrests, this is after Trump took office, surged 40% from the same period a year earlier. And the numbers released by the government on Tuesday show that the deportation officers are taking Trump's call for an immigration crackdown to heart, even without the funding increase that the president has sought from Congress for more hiring. No, we have to have tax cuts, so ain't no money going anywhere else. In February, the Homeland Security Secretary John Kelly scrapped the previous administration's instructions to limit deportations to public safety threats, convicted criminals and recent border crossers, effectively making anyone in the country illegally vulnerable. So we have seen a very successful result of a commitment coming from the president.
Just from the tough talk.
And allowing the officers to do their jobs. They're not told to stand down anymore. They don't catch and release. They're sending them back and they're doing something about it. And, they understand that D.C. has their back. And that makes a tremendous difference in what the numbers that we see is a big part of it. And we have Joe calling us from Arkansas. Good morning, Joe.
Hi, Joe.
I wanted to comment on the case of the Colorado baker going before the Supreme Court that you brought up a little earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And that's this. There's a famous quote from Thomas Jefferson. He said that to compel a man to furnish money for the propagation of opinions with which he disagrees is tyranny. And I think a couple of examples of that are like the National Endowment for the Arts.
Mm-hmm.
All the taxpayers are forced to support the National Endowment for the Arts, even though it promotes some art that some people do not like and would not voluntarily support if they have their druthers. So I think that's a form of tyranny right along the lines of what Thomas Jefferson was talking about. National Public Radio, another good example. I don't listen to National Public Radio. I don't like National Public Radio. I disagree with the point of view put out on National Public Radio. But nevertheless, I have to pay taxes to support National Public Radio, another form of tyranny. So this is the same exact kind of thing, that a baker is being forced to make a cake for a homosexual wedding, which by his conscience he disagrees with, he or her or whoever it is. And so personally I think this is tyranny. And I think it also shows a communistic attitude to business. This is part of the agenda to promote communism, to turn the United States into a communist country where the government owns all the businesses, and it is not your business. You are managing your business on behalf of the government. So that's what I think about this, and I hope that the Supreme Court decides in favor of the baker.
I do, too.
I agree absolutely with everything you said. When you've got the government coming in and telling you what you can and cannot do on every little turn in your life, whether it's your business or personal life, you've got tyranny. And the fact that we're afraid of them. You're afraid if you make a mistake on your taxes, you're going to get in trouble. Or if you do this or do that, you're going to get in trouble. I mean, that's a blatant sign that you are under tyranny. And the fact that we accept all this, well, you and I don't. None of the three of us accept it. But I had a caller yesterday on my other show on CSC Talk Radio. And I said, well, so you think it's okay? These people have been lying to you. Is that okay with you? She said, people have been lying to me all my life. I go, and that's okay? You're okay with that? Well, yeah, they lie all the time. So why would we accept something like that? The fact that we accept this stuff, it's mind-boggling to me. But we're under tyranny. There's no doubt to me that we're under tyranny.
It all comes with it's part of the conditioning. I mean, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, I can remember listening to my parents. Everybody would say, "Oh, that crooked politician, he." It was a joke.
Laugh about it, yeah.
But because it didn't have any impact, the one liar, the one lying politician, didn't have much power. He really couldn't change anything. He was a joke.
But now you've got
and they multiplied, and that's what happens. They multiplied, and now we got a bunch of them that lie, and their lying has been accepted. We became to the point where there was nothing we could do about it. We for various reasons, and I'm not going to go into all of them, but for various reasons, it's been a battle and people accept what they say. People have not been paying attention. And that's all. And it's not just them because they're out doing things. That's part of it. But there's been distractions that have intentionally been created.
Well, what we just said this morning, everything that's in the news, and we didn't hear about the fire. We didn't hear about this young officer being killed. I mean, I don't watch the news all the time, and obviously I was on the road yesterday most of the day and evening, and so I didn't hear a lot of it, and I found that one on Twitter, and it was a Newsmax. No, it wasn't. I can't remember who it was.
But this has been going on for a very long time.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. They pick and choose with the news they want you to hear. They've created distractions, and along with technology, it's been easier and easier to create the distractions, and certainly to some degree these distractions are addictive. I mean, people are addictive to technology. They need it's the same way with the kids of today's age. They need to have something faster. They look at these cell phones. It's like, what? You need to come out with a new one every year? What does it actually do better than the 1 year before? It might be faster. The more complicated.
The pixels or, the clarity might be a little bit better. But how is it different? But yet you have people that'll get rid of last year's phone just so they can have the newest and the latest. It is like an addiction. And so very easily to distract people when you have the tools. You have the TV, you have the cell phones, iPods, iPad, whatever they're all called. So it's, and then you go back to the training in these colleges where these things, this is almost becoming my favorite thing to go to because it just shocks the heck out of me every time I go there, the College Fix. I mean, I just get, I'm just so shocked and appalled at the things. And a college paper, this is out of the Texas State University. There was a student journalist, Rudy Martinez. He said, I don't mean anything by that. A college paper fired him. He called the DNA of white people an abomination. He said that white death will mean liberation for all in the November column. And this is the University of Texas.
That's not
Texas
racist
State
at all,
University. Now heck no. And they fired him. And the paper did do an apology. And I mean, it's just like, but the thinking. He's not alone in thinking this. He's not alone in thinking that white death would mean liberation for all. Well, who's all? Define who's all.
Anybody who's not white, although we've got an awful lot of white people that are screaming that too, and I'm thinking, have you looked in the mirror lately? Well, I know this is along the colleges and along some of this racism that we're talking about. And Tucker Carlson had a professor on last night that he was talking to, a real beautiful black woman, very intelligent, from Johns Hopkins University. And apparently, and I know it is true with my kids, I had 5 children, and we didn't make very much money. And you couldn't even get a Pell Grant. We didn't even qualify for a Pell Grant because we made too much money. And but they have it all fixed up. The fix is in. So these immigrants coming in here, whether they're legal or illegal, they've got a leg up on our own kids, on our own citizens here in the United States that can't get into these colleges. And Tucker was calling her out on it. He even asked her what the what was it? He said, well, he said, what's the admissions rate at the school you work at? She said, well, I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you. Well, that tells you right there that it's not fair.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to tell you. He says, why should these schools demand that the rest of the country apply no standards at all to anyone coming in and then take federal dollars to hike their standards so most people born in the country can't get into their schools? And he said he was one. He said, I tried whenever I was young trying to get in. And she said, well, now was that the standards' fault or yours? He said, well, in some cases it might have been mine. But, she would, they make the standards are not the same. They're not the same for the immigrants as they are for, or the illegals, whether they're legal or illegal immigrants. They're not the same as they are for U.S. citizens.
I remember a couple years ago, this was probably 8-9 years ago, it's been a while, and I was going to a news station, and it hadn't come on yet. And so I just had the program on before the program, and I think it was a Judge Judy. No, ladies and gentlemen, I don't listen to Judge Judy. I don't even know if she's on or anymore or anything like that, but I was waiting for the news program to come on, and they had, it was two people that they were, I don't even know what they were arguing about. He didn't pay rent or something. He spent the money for rent. And she was asking this kid questions. Well, what do you do at school? And why do you go to school? And his answer was, well, it's free.
Oh, wow.
I go to school because it doesn't cost me anything. And she says, well, then why did you spend the money for the housing? Why didn't you pay your rent? Is that your money? He says, no. She says, well, it was coming from the government. You were supposed to pay your housing. Well, I didn't. I don't remember. But the only reason he was going to school was because it was free.
Wow. Wow.
And
well, my kids didn't get it free, that's for sure.
The education didn't cost him anything.
We need Judge Judy on the Ninth Circuit Court. I saw an interview on her telling her life, and she has a real interesting normal life. I mean, well, normal in some ways. But I thought it was real interesting. I haven't watched Judge Judy much either, unless I just see clips of
yeah,
things.
That's all it was. Yeah, maybe I even saw the clip on.
We're at work when Judge Judy's on. I don't watch.
It's amazing those eye openers sometimes.
Well, they're out there. That's for sure. They're out there.
But so it's we went from the immigration. So good job for the administration. They are doing some good things, and his band.
You hear that on mainstream media. It's just not going to be told.
And we went there to these colleges. It's just amazing. And we do have a caller. We have Neil from Missouri calling us. Good morning, Neil.
Good morning. I was calling in regards to the issue about the baker being forced to service people he doesn't want to service, and the issue of the taxes you're paying going to programs you don't support. They're kind of related legally. If the baker is not incorporated and he's operating as a sole proprietor or partnership, and he's not a what they call an LLC, a limited liability corporation, then he does have rights under the Constitution, under the First Amendment, to serve who he chooses if he's not operating as an agent of a foreign corporation by accepting Federal Reserve notes. And I guarantee you the guy doesn't have any clue that when he takes a handful of Federal Reserve notes for one of his cakes, he's operating as an agent of a foreign corporation. And people who operate as agents of foreign corporations and people who operate as corporations themselves, they're incorporated, their company is, they don't have, they don't have any rights under the Constitution. Everything that they do is under federal or state or local regulation. And if they decide that you have to, sell a cake to a homosexual couple, then you have to do that. And you can't fall back on a constitutional issue of rights because you don't have any rights in those instances. So if people want to assert their rights, they've got to quit, operating as corporations and quit operating as agents of foreign corporations, by using Federal Reserve notes. So, people want to complain, they need to get their legal status straight first. And anybody who's paying taxes, first of all, if you're not operating as an agent of a foreign corporation, you don't have to pay the taxes to start with. So quit using Federal Reserve notes if you don't want to support these programs that you don't agree with.
So what do people use when they're in business?
Well, make people pay in coins or give you a check or a money order. Checks and money orders are not denominated in Federal Reserve notes. They're denominated in dollars. And all your coins are minted for the use of the United States citizen, so they don't have to volunteer to operate as an agent of a foreign corporation by using the notes.
And in today's world, very few people use cash, though.
Well, I carry around a bag full of coins, $1 coins. And everybody who knows, all the businesses I work, that I go to, they know. Hey, that weird guy, comes in, he's got this bag full of coins, and, he's always paying for everything with piles of coins instead of, or sometimes I'll use a money order. Especially if I'm, doing something through the mail, I'll use a postal money order. But see, money orders, checks, and coins are not taxable. It's only the Federal Reserve note that's taxable because that makes you an agent of a foreign corporation when you use it. And when you use it, anything that touches, it eliminates any claim you have to rights under the Constitution.
All right. Okay. Well, we're going to see how that plays out there with the Supreme Court this week. I don't know when they'll make the decision, but it'll be interesting to see how that goes down. Thank you, Neil. Thank you for the education. We appreciate it.
And we do, because it's just something that, it's certainly not taught. We're led to live a certain way. And
Melody can help you get coins.
Yes. I got lots of them.
Thank you, Neil.
I got lots of silver dollars here. Do you hear that, folks?
She's jingling. She's jingling.
And that's not Santa Claus. But, since we're back on that gentleman, I came across this, and it doesn't really have much, it's not the same type, but you look at agendas, and they're all related. Now, this is an Anglican minister out of London. I don't know where, out of London. He's a cleric, and he's a gay rights campaigner. And he urged believers to pray for Prince George, age 4, third in line to the throne, to find the love of a fine young gentleman when he grows up, so as to advance the cause of same-sex marriage in a church. Now, I mean, how evil have we become?
Well, how are they going to continue the lineage if they do that?
But I mean, that's not even it's here you have a prominent Anglican cleric. I don't know much about the Anglican, agenda and so forth, but they're urging their believers for a little boy that's age 4 to be gay. I mean, how sick is this?
It's very sick. Very sick.
And that was his agenda. He wants to pray for Prince George to grow up in that way.
Amazing.
Is to pray in a way that would disable and undermine his constitutional and personal role. I mean, it's, and you know what? You hear people, prayers. Well, I just found that shocking.
I'm thinking that prayer's not going to be heard.
No, I don't think so.
No, it'll be heard. I shouldn't say that. All prayers are heard. It'll be heard.
But, I was just a little shocked. How can you even...
The boldness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
So, what else do we have here?
Hey,
and I'm going to stay a little bit on that topic.
Okay.
Because I believe there was a waiver that was to be signed last week by Trump about having, without the waiver, there's a lot of opposition being built up in the Muslim and Arab world to any possible U.S. recognition of the city of Jerusalem as Israel's capital. Now, I'm not going to go into details because I'm not the expert in that type of, the relationship and so forth. Beth, are you?
No, I'm not.
But I think this is important. There's threats by Turkey to threaten to cut ties with Israel. The Palestinians warned that they would halt contracts with their U.S. counterparts. A key Washington ally, the Saudi Arabia, spoke out strongly against such a possible step. You also have, and I guess Trump was to sign.
I think we lost Melody there for a second.
No, I'm here. I had a major airplane fly overhead, but I was low. My windows were rattling.
Oh my
goodness. And it got my little doggy upset.
It got Ruby upset. But go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So last week there was a waiver that was to have been signed, and the Trump administration appeared to have missed the deadline to sign this waiver, keeping the U.S. Embassy in Israel in Tel Aviv. So the deadline came and went without any White House announcement about whether Trump had signed a waiver. And without the waiver, by the law, the embassy is supposed to move to Jerusalem. So the White House said yesterday that Trump was still deciding, and I find this interesting and I don't know what to make of it, but I think it's a very big deal.
It is a big deal.
It's a very big deal.
And they have talked off and on about it. We're going into a break. I can hear the music. I'm going to give out the phone number, 717-300-1218. Facts only, not, we want to know about this. We're going to discuss it just a little bit. 717-300-1218, and we will be right back.
Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net. Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity, invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host, Melody Cedarstrom, right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free, 1-800-375-4188. The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on Internet or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the Internet. Then, when you subscribe, we will send you the last quarterly MP3 CD of that program immediately, and continue to do so with each new quarter. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe, so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening. Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
And we have returned. You're listening to Power Talks with Melody and Beth Ann in the morning. 717-300-1218 is the number to call. We are in the final segment of today's show. Well, you know, Melody, we were talking about Jerusalem. Mm-hmm. And they have been talking about that since President Trump became president, mm-hmm. and batting that back and forth. So I know it's going to be a big decision. Don't know what's going to be right on it, but you know, they're always at a war over there. So I know it's going to be big.
Well, you know, the implications of missing this deadline are unclear. There's lawyers that have said there's some flexibility in the exact timing. Congress could withhold State Department funding for overseas facilities, but it's unlikely to do so. The Trump administration has blown through many other congressional deadlines without consequence in the past. At the same time, the prospect of Trump recognizing Jerusalem as Israel's capital has triggered mounting the opposition. So, you know, and I would expect with his son-in-law has a big say in what goes on there. So,
well, I don't know if he does or not. You stop and you think that maybe because he is of Jewish descent, but at the same time, he and Ivanka were pushing President Donald Trump not to back out of the Paris Agreement, and he did it anyway. So I think he's still a man who makes.
Yeah, but this is a little different.
Well, yes and no.
I think this is a little different. It has to do
with national security. It has to do with some things that I think he'll make up his own mind. I was worried about the other because he really loves his daughter. I was worried she was going to influence him on the Paris.
Yeah, but you know, if you believe what Trump says, he also dislikes those globalists and the. I mean, he was always he never believed in global warming, and you know he always thought it was a fraud and so forth. So, you know, I didn't think he'd go. You know, I didn't know how much pressure he'd have from everyone else around the world.
America has no leadership in climate change now. That's what President Barack Obama.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. Yeah, and they don't have our dollars either. Our worthless dollars.
Yeah, that kind of got slipped away there, didn't it?
Yeah, you know, how else could they do the tax reform? That money could go in it. But yeah, that's all they want. That's all they needed us for, you know, and it was really silly because nobody else was going to put any money into the deal, and China isn't going to start working on their problem till when. So the whole thing is just a farce. And I saw a report on climate change yesterday where they listed the items that the biggest items that it wasn't manufacturing anymore that was polluting the world's air. It was, you know, the cars, planes, you know, ships, you know, all
not the gassy cows. I thought it was the gassy cows.
They got a reprieve.
I thought it was the gassy cows. You know, they're just such hypocrites because they'll sit there and they're going to tell you you can't have heat. You've got to turn it down, and you've got to wear layers and walk around like an Eskimo. And I don't mean that in a bad way towards Alaska, please. It's just a saying because you have cold weather a lot. And but they don't live that way. Not one of them lives that way. That push this, whether it's the Hollywood stars or Al Gore or whoever it is. They do not live the way they're telling you to live. They heat their homes. They have more than one home they're heating. They fly around in private jets. They have vehicles that are not necessarily the little plug-in electric vehicles. They have the gas guzzler vehicles, and everything in their lives is waste as far as the energy that they're telling us to save. And, it's just, if you follow the hypocrisy, you see that they don't practice what they preach. No. Therefore, they don't believe what they preach.
And, there's been some headlines that just came out on Trump. I guess Mueller is going after his business dealings with Deutsche Bank. I guess he subpoenaed some of his banking records for his with the Deutsche Bank. I'm just seeing the headlines now coming through.
That must be now, because I don't have that.
It is. It's just coming. It's just breaking. It came out really early this morning, but let me see if I can find this here.
Well, Mueller, of course, they've got some upset going on there with, I'm trying to think here. They fired an anti-Trump text, this guy that's been on every one of these interviews or investigations, and he is as anti-Trump as they come. It's certainly not a bipartisan committee that's doing these investigations. And so they're going after whatever they think they can catch him at. It's not about the Russia, and it needs to be stopped.
They got to find, they're looking for something. And, you've had Maxine Waters, you had other Democrats that have been trying to investigate on their own, and Deutsche Bank for months has rebuffed calls by these lawmakers to provide more transparency. And I guess Trump owes roughly $300 million owed to the bank for his real estate dealings prior to becoming president. So, they've been going out on their own. So, how can you not see how this is all, being pushed through, and who's behind it all? It's like 1 and 1 is 2. What is, what? But his relationship with the Deutsche Bank stretches back about 20 years, and he about the $300 million he owed to the bank represented nearly half of his outstanding debt. This was according to a July 2016 analysis by Bloomberg. What's the big deal? So he owes $300 million. What's the big deal?
Dershowitz, and I'm not necessarily a fan of Dershowitz, but he's come out saying that obstruction charges on Trump would bring constitutional crisis. Well, I think we're already in a constitutional crisis because Congress is not representing the people. Congress is up there dropping their drawers and then paying off people with tax dollars. But he says here, this is written by Sandy Fitzgerald, and this is a Newsmax article. It says if Congress changed President Donald Trump with obstruction, if they charged President Donald Trump with obstruction of justice for firing former FBI Director James Comey, that would trigger a constitutional crisis. This is, of course, he's a Harvard law professor, Dershowitz. He says, I think if Congress ever were to charge him with obstruction of justice for exercising, and we'd have a constitutional Congress authority, because this is under his authority, under Article 2. He has the right to fire people. And so they're saying that he fired him, and that's an obstruction of justice. And if they do that, they're the ones that are really going against the Constitution, because under the Constitution, he has the right to fire these people. Go ahead. I know you were going to say something.
Well, you know what, Beth? I don't want to change the topic, but we're running out of time. We're almost at the end of the program. And someone sent me a very lovely Christmas song. And I hope she doesn't mind that I play it. And so it's all ready to go. And so this was getting on you today, Beth. This is a beautiful song that Beth has recorded. It's a Christmas song, and we're getting close to the holidays. And if you don't mind,
I don't mind. I thought you were just going to play like a snippet of it during bumpers.
No, I thought we'd play because it is a lovely song. If you don't mind, we'll have Todd start it.
I don't mind.
So we'll be back tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, and let me introduce you to Beth, and it's a beautiful song. Enjoy.
In her other life.
Enjoy.
Let us ring, are you listening? In the lane, snow is glistening. A beautiful sight, we're happy tonight, walking in a winter wonderland. Gone away is the bluebird, here to stay is the new bird. He sings a love song as we go along, walking in a winter wonderland. In the meadow we can build a snowman and pretend that he is Parson Brown. He'll say, are you married? We'll say, no, man, but you could do the job when you're in town. Later on we'll conspire as we dream by the fire to face unafraid the plans that we made, walking in a winter wonderland. Pretend that he's a circus clown. We'll have lots of fun with Mr. Snowman till the other kitties knock him down. When it snows, ain't it thrilling? Though your nose gets a chillin', we'll frolic and play the Eskimo way, walking in a winter wonderland. Later on we'll
Visit crosstheborder.org, C-R-O-S-S, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn, the Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a re-established Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, C-R-O-S-S, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
The book of Revelation says, the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ. This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy Reality News app. Get it now.
Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. to secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host, Melody Cedarstrom, right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free, 1-800-375-4188.